I was immediately struck by how visceral it is, the words are, and how powerful, and the imagery that comes through quite clearly. When Witherspoon wrote this poetry around the age of 17 was exactly when I was writing a lot of music, and then didn't, and then went this entire other path. Like, I'm a violist, I'm going to get an orchestra job. This is what I'm going to be doing. And it wasn't until much in my 40s that I become a composer, and most of that came out of my sort of midlife crisis of like, who am I, what am I doing, and like this idea of like relationships, and the feeling of like not knowing, or trying to find who you are or how you relate to the world, and relationships between people. And so that's the poetry. I got sent a bunch of poetry, some in a book and some like loose poetry, and there was a series of poems that talked about love and belonging, and the idea of being who you are with somebody else, and when it's right and when it's wrong. And I immediately just sort of grabbed onto these and kind of strung them together, so that really each movement, there's 3 movements in the piece, and one of his poems is Welcome to the Broken Hearts Club. So that's the name of the song cycle. Love is not so short a feeling, it fits between us, we are in it the way we are in the world. And this sort of reflection on what is the saddest thing, when do we learn lessons about love, and what do we learn what to settle for, or what to aim for. And it's extremely interesting. I was like, I can write about this. And this is our shared experience. And the first movement is sort of like this very flighty, like kind of like it bops along like a pop song, how pop songs kind of talk about serious things, but it sounds not serious. And so it's like a light-hearted thing, but you're getting to this really juicy text. And then the second movement is really just a straight up love song, like a ballad, if you will. And the third movement, I felt like, with this imagery of like love is a damp corner of a dark room, and the bugs come in, and and I talked to Chabrel, the singer, and I remember her telling me like, oh yeah, I wanted to hear like little like scattery bugs, and everything. It's like, yeah, so that I kind of got some sound cues from her and some things that were coming out to me. So this third movement is really just about kind of like a angsty aria from like an opera. And then the end is so poignant, these last 4 lines, that, I mean, I think we're all in agreement that we can't really understand how a 17-year-old wrote it. It sounds more like somebody my age. I wanted the ending just to have this sort of poignancy, and just like this something that like we all can share, because we all know what this is like in some way or another. We've all felt these things, and that's the universality of it. And what I like to do also, I like referencing different song styles in order to prove a point. So like to reference like a pop music feel versus a ballad feel versus like an operatic feel, it's like kind of like helping make the context of what the piece is.
Okay.
So I loved writing it, and thank you so much for amazing poetry.
I was 17 when I wrote and published the book.
This is amazing. I don't think
I'm 19 now, and it's still with me, that sensitivity, that vulnerability, that longing to communicate how I experience love, how I experience hurt, how I experience abandonment. All of those things sort of come together in this marriage for that book. And I like to think that I've done some growing since then. But capturing that when I did and how I did was crucial to my development, not just as a writer, but as a person. I know when people read things, we all read with different eyes. But what I wanted to do with this project was tell the truth. And I wanted it to fit in no uncertain terms. And I wanted it to fit in a way that it expands forever, but with much less confusion. I want there to be very short bursts of lyrical poetry, almost like a song, a pop song, a rap song, whatever. And I wanted it to sit with the reader in a way where they could spend more time thinking about the application than the meaning.